Okay, so we're moving on to the next question type, which is fill in the blanks. We looked at one last time, right? Remember? Where we learned all the new words, panache, myriad, novelty, cachet. Again, I'm sure these are words that you have no idea of. Tenet, torpor, inchoate, perusal, palliative. So these are all, I'm sure you don't know these words. So at least let's look at the context, right? Let's get an idea looking at the context. What is the context telling us? What meaning is the context telling? Ajit says tenet means period. So I'm going to give you example sentences. You tell me what can the meaning of these words be. But before that, let's look at the context, right? The famous artist released a new album after a 5-year of, maybe he took a break or whatever, right? I can make out the meaning. Though the album was yet, so something was not finished with the album, right? So let's understand these words first. So if I say in democratic societies like ours, the freedom of speech is a basic tenet. What do you think is the meaning of tenet in this context? Or if I say the primary tenet of our political system is the belief all people have the right to vote, right? In both these contexts, can you guess the meaning of tenet? Yeah, these sound like, so in both the example sentences that I've put, yes, Sid, very good, right? Principle, some sort of a principle or some doctrine that, you know, members of a profession or a group or a movement follow, right? It can be a principle, it can be a doctrine, another synonym for it is dogma, right? Or it can even be an opinion. So tenet means this. So we have an idea. For torpor, I want to show you this. This is a grizzly bear, okay? So grizzly bear is basically, it's known for, bears are usually known to hibernate, right? So they move into long extended periods of not doing anything, just resting, a state of suspended physical powers and activities, right? So I want you to remember this. Torpor means just that. So whenever you come across this word, I want you to remember grizzly bear hibernating and, you know, just going off into no activity, completely in rest. Yeah, some of you saying lazy, yeah, okay. So basically it's a state of being completely inactive. That's torpor for you. What were the other words? Inchoate. Inchoate. Let's look at, as soon as you look at this, what do you think of? So this is just a shoot, right? It's a shoot, which means it's at the early stage. It's not fully developed. So inchoate means just that, right? Inchoate means something that is in the beginning or early stage, not yet fully developed. That's inchoate for you. Inchoate is an adjective. Startup is a noun. Emerging, beginning, yes. Yeah, so inchoate, remember a shoot, like a little sapling which is not yet fully developed. What was the other words? Perusal. I'm guessing perusal is something that you should know. If I say, usually, no, I get mail saying, please find attached my resume for your perusal. What do you think the meaning of perusal is in this context? In this context? Yeah, examining something, right? So perusal means basically to either to read or examine something with great care. Okay, palliative is a other word, right? When you think of palliative, just think of this. What's aspirin? How would you describe aspirin? When do you usually take aspirin? Or brufen? I'm just giving you examples of what? Let me see who's going to give me the answer first. When do you take aspirin? To relieve from pain. So it's basically a painkiller, right? Sid? It's a painkiller. It's a drug, yes. It's a drug which is usually taken to relieve pain, right? It's not going to cure your the problem that you have. It alleviates pain. It lessens the pain, right? So palliative is nothing but a sedative or a painkiller. That's what palliative is. So which means, at least we've looked at 5 words. Painkillers, yes, Yatindra, correct. So we know the words now. Tenet means principle, doctrine, dogma. Torpor means inactivity. Keep in mind grizzly bear. Inchoate, we just saw something, it's at early stage, beginning. Perusal, we saw reading something, examining something with great care. Palliative is a sedative, is a painkiller. Now let's look at the context and you tell me what can be the options that can fit in the context to complete this meaningfully. The famous artist released a new album after a 5-year of what? Though the album was yet what? We're talking about torpor is, so for 5 years he was Nobody heard from this famous artist. He didn't release any new album. So suddenly after 5 years, so after this period of non-activity for 5 years, he released it. But the album was yet to be fully developed. It was still in its early stage. It was still in the beginning stage, right? In Kuwait. Yeah? Again, if I get this question, will I answer this? No, I will not. Why? Because I have no clue of these words and their meanings, right? Now I've just understood the meaning of these words. I've expanded my vocabulary. If at all these words come in a context, then I'll be able to answer them. Following? After his house was dashed, Alan began an campaign against crime. My options are burglarized, disdain, acceded, withering, accosted, indefatigable. So again, words are repeated. Now, these words, maybe the only word that you probably know is burglarized, right? Burglar, burgled. That's the probably only word that you know, right? Those of you who don't know the meaning of burglarized, for your benefit, I'm just putting a context here. The second floor tenants have been burglarized thrice. What does the meaning of burglarized means? Here, somebody has committed burglary against them. Okay. Disdain. I looked at him with disdain. What is the meaning of disdain here? I looked at him with disdain. What can it mean? Anybody? I'm just going to write these words in a context. See if you are able to identify the meaning of these words. Ashwini. Ashwini launched a withering attack on the press. What can be the meaning of withering here? So, to look down on someone, yes, correct. Disdain, with contempt, right? Basically, with contempt, with scorn. Acceded, that's an, so I'll say, Ankit acceded to my request. What is the meaning of acceded here? Okay, withering also has another meaning. Usually, words in English, they have two meanings, right? I'll give you another context. So I can say Prince gave Sid a withering look, right? What's the other word that is there? Accosted. Where do I write that? Accede, concede. To agree, no? So let's look at the ones that we have here. Acceded means he agreed to it. To agree to my request. Withering look here means what? Ashwini launched a withering attack on the press. So this is to do with devastating. Here, Prince gave Sid a withering look means what? A critical look, right? Let's look at one more context. I'm just going to erase this. This is just for you to have an idea of another meaning of this word. Accosted. So I say, if I said, sorry John, I'm taking your name. When John accosted me with a gun, I quickly handed over my purse. What do you think is the meaning of accosted here? Accost means tokna in English. Okay, Mohit says that. When John accosted me with a gun, I quickly handed over my purse. Accosted means using aggression, or you're being insistent, he's probably demanding, pointing the gun at my head or something and asking me to give me the purse, right? So having understood all the meanings, indefatigable means what? I'm going to write this here. Ajit's indefatigable spirit helped him to cope with the illness. What is the meaning of indefatigable here? Tirelessness, yes. Not tiring, right? Unrelenting. Basically, he's showing persistent effort to cope with the illness. Now that we have an idea, what do you think is the answer here? After his house was, definitely it can't be acceded. It can't be accosted. It can't be, that's the only two options are, I have to choose between 1 and 5. So after his house was burglarized, Alan began a disdain campaign or an indefatigable campaign. It's understood that it has to be option 5, right? Against crime. He began an indefatigable campaign against crime. So once you know the meanings of these words, yes, but otherwise also, you can quickly narrow your options. Tireless. Yeah? Okay. So far, we've looked at a couple of spot theory questions for which I understood that there are a lot of basics that you guys are still confused with. In terms of sentence construction, you have a problem looking at, see, one sentence can be written in a lot of ways, right? But for you to get that construction right, you need to be very thorough with your basics, which is grammar. And then we looked at fill in the blanks, where if it's of a higher level only because of the words, right? The words are slightly complex. You have no idea about the words unless you learn it in a context or associated with images. I'm sure you won't forget torpor, inactivity, grizzly bear, hibernation, or inchoate, something that is in an early stage, remembering the shoot, right? Or palliative, painkiller, drug, sedative. Let's move on to our next question type, which is sentence improvement. This is also something that we looked at our previous session. A lot of us had problems. I broke it down into different concepts. That's exactly what we'll do.